Okay, before I begin my review of Avengers 4, Avengers Endgame, or Infinity War Part 2, whichever one I decide to call it, I would like to take a moment of silence to remember one of my high school classmates and also one of my friends. Her name was Lindsay Cronkite, and I wanted to at least dedicate one of my videos to her, because unfortunately I found out at the beginning of February by another one of my classmates that she unfortunately passed away in an accident, and she was only the same age I am. So I wanted to dedicate my review out to her, and it's not easy for me when losing a friend or a family member, especially when you don't get the chance to say goodbye. She was a great friend to me. She was very kind, very cool to be around, and for classmates who graduated in 2017, whether you know her or not, hearing that she unfortunately passed away easily is not something for people to deal with like that. But this review goes out to her, and this is dedicated to her memory. I wish you were still here with us, Lindsay. You were a great friend to me and everyone around you, and you were a great presence to be around. And my deepest sympathy goes out to her family, especially her brother, who, if he does watch this video, he'll probably know that I did a tribute to her. But anyways, here's my review of Avengers 4. Rest in peace, Lindsay. You know what? Why the hell was I even worried about this movie? So we now have made it to the fourth and final film in the Avengers quadrilogy, and the second part of the two-part conclusion to the Infinity War saga, Avengers Endgame, or Avengers Infinity War Part 2, because I'm still a little not so sold with the word Endgame in the darn title, and it is indeed the 22nd movie of the MCU. Yes, we've reached that point, and the newest movie in Phase 3, a sequel to 2012's The Avengers, 2015's Age of Ultron, and 2018's biggest smash hit, Avengers Infinity War Part 1, and is once again directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, with a screenplay by Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, based on characters of the same name by Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko, etc., and stars a cast of entirely Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Scarlett Johansson, Jeremy Renner, Don Cheadle, Paul Rudd, Brie Larson, Karen Gillan, Denai Guerrero, Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Holland, Chadwick Boseman, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, Tom Hiddleston, Paul Clemente, Dave Bautista, Zoe Saldana, Chris Pratt, Letitia Wright, Evangeline Lilly, Frank Grillo, Tessa Thompson, Harunuki Sananda, Stan Lee, and Josh Brolin as Thanos. And the premise of Avengers Endgame or Infinity War Part 2 is that we pick up immediately where the not very good ending of Avengers 3 left off, as we see Tony Stark in space with one of the Guardians of the Galaxy hides in the case of Nebula, without any food or water, and he sends a message to Pepper Potts as his oxygen supply starts to dwindle. Meanwhile, the remaining Avengers, Thor, Black Widow, Captain America, and Bruce Banner, must figure out a way to bring back their vanquished allies, which includes Scarlet Witch, Vision, Black Panther, Spider-Man, and more, for an epic showdown with Thanos, the evil demigod who decimated the planet and the universe with the help of Ant-Man, Nebula, Rocket Raccoon, and of course, a little someone I like to call Captain Marvel. But little do they know that the decision they choose to do will have greater consequences and sacrifices that will have to be made. And once they go down this road, there will be no going back. So basically, there's our plot and a culmination of 11 years worth of planning, build-up, standalone solo films, and everything else we've had in the last 21 movies, plus this movie combined. Now, going into Avengers 4, I was pretty excited because it was the second part to the third film, and I loved the first two Avengers movies so much. The original Avengers, released back in May of 2012, was such a cinematic event and widely anticipated by audiences, fans, and moviegoers alike. And it was such a success with audiences and critics alike. And Joss Whedon did a great job with it, and I thought it was one of the best movies of 2012. Age of Ultron was such amazingly underrated and a badass sequel, and which still remains as my favorite MCU movie ever, and I think the movie doesn't deserve as much hate as it gets. After all, it did introduce us to Scarlet Witch, who's my favorite MCU girl. Infinity War Part 1 was a fantastic third installment, and it's one of my favorite third installments in the franchise, trilogy, or series of films, and despite my extremely mixed feelings on that ending, that irritates me, even though I somewhat understand why they did that and why fans love that ending. But I was one of the few who wasn't feeling that ending. And part of the reason was because the villain won instead of the heroes. And while it is a nice change of pace, I usually like seeing heroes win, and I wanted to see how things would be fixed. But there was some things that I was concerned about. Will dead Avengers, including Scarlet Witch, return? Will Thanos be defeated? Will things be even worse? And the trailers were keeping things under wraps. But the only trailer that I liked was the teaser trailer. But the other trailers, including the Super Bowl ad, didn't impress me. I liked them, but it didn't feel complete without the other heroes. Then the runtime was announced, and I was viciously against the 3 hours and 2 minutes because I thought the runtime was going to have too much talking and it would take way too long to get to the good stuff, and I was constantly constantly defending the decision to bring Captain Marvel in to help when everyone else was against Brie Larson, teaming with the Avengers. I was saying her joining the Avengers is not an SJW move. It's a good thing. Wait for the movie, guys, to see how she'll help. And they set up her helping the team perfectly at the end of Captain Marvel with the mid-credit scene. But do I think this is a great conclusion? And do I think that this is the Deathly Hallows Part 2, as Infinity War was with Deathly Hallows Part 1? Definitely. This is the Deathly Hallows Part 2 of the MCU that I've been waiting for, and I was completely surprised, just like the first three movies. I love this movie. However, the first two movies are still better, but Endgame was a worthy fourth film. Before I get into the pros, I'm just going to go ahead and get my negatives out of the way right now. By the way, this first half of this review is completely spoiler free, so until I give my negatives and my positives and my overall rating, you are free to watch. But once I go into the spoiler section, which will be voiceover, by the way, that's when you guys can leave, whether or not you've seen the movie or not, or you just want to hear me go into spoilers. Let's get into what I didn't like first. As far as negatives go with Avengers Endgame, there's only a few things that bothers me, but none of these negatives take away from my enjoyment of the movie. My first problem I do have is more of a nitpick. While I do appreciate the fact that this is a 3-hour and 2-minute long film, which I'll get into in my positives, my only sort of issue with the runtime is that for the first couple minutes, I guess maybe 30 to 47 minutes, I was sitting there a little bored. And it's not like I didn't care to see them deal with the losses of the last film, because I really did care, even though I just admitted what I just said. Hey, I've been with these characters since 2008, when it all began with Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, all the way up to the first Avengers, then the second one, then the third one. So I've been with this entire MCU for a long time. I started out with the MCU when I was just a young kid, and going as a young adult, going 20, going on 21. We're finishing the Infinity Saga, but I'm still going on and support the MCU and what they do next. Like I said, it's just that after a while, the grieving and the stuff with them, depressing stuff with them having to cope with losing their team members at the end of the last film, it ends up becoming a little too boring for me. And I was sitting there saying, can we get to the quantum world now? And probably at least when it got to the 35-minute mark. But I get what the Russos and the screenwriters were going for it, so I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. Also, I didn't really care for the new look of Hawkeye too much in this movie. Now, I get what they were going for in this movie, but I do prefer the look of Hawkeye in the first two Avengers movies and Captain America Civil War. But this new look wasn't terrible nor bad, but it wasn't very good either. Honestly, I thought his new look was kind of lame. I get it, it's more like Ronan from the comics, but it just wasn't really clicking with me. As far as the cast, I do wish Vision was in the final battle, because I did miss Paul Bettany, but that's okay because he will return in the WandaVision, aka Scarlet Witch's new series for the Disney Plus streaming service next year, and that show is in pre-production as of now, and it's good that he and Elizabeth Olsen will have their own TV show together as they respect the characters, but I do wish he was in this movie in the big climax. Catherine Langford was supposed to be in the movie, like I said, but they eventually cut her out before this movie came out, which is disappointing because I love her as an actress, and she's pretty, and I loved her in 13 Reasons Why and Love, Simon, and she has what it takes to be one of the next talked about actresses. But I was disappointed by her being cut out of the film before the film was released. But that does annoy me a little bit that Catherine Langford's not in the movie, but what can you do? You're not going to hear me say anything bad about seeing the older version of Cassie Lane, who's played by Emma Furman, because she's not in it that much, but we'll be seeing her again in Ant-Man 3, because what the time travel does for this whole MCU, there is a lot of possibilities you can go to. Hey, you can even go as far as to possibly making a live-action Spider-Verse movie with Miles Morales, which I don't think will happen, but it'd be an interesting way to see. Now, the big problem here, this is the big problem, and I'll explain why this did not work for me in my spoiler section, is that the big problem for me is the way what they do with Iron Man in the last few minutes. It really did piss me off because I love the character. Don't get me wrong, the Iron Man we know and love is still there and present throughout Robert Downey Jr.'s incredible performance. If he does not get an Academy Award nomination, if this movie doesn't get any Oscars, then something is wrong with the Oscars. Because you barely acknowledge superhero movies, Academy, and you barely acknowledge scary horror films. All you want to do is acknowledge historical dramas and stuff, which is cool, but I think other genre of movies like this should be recognized. But seriously, guys, he was the start of this 11-year-long process, and the way they choose to kill him off, while it is very heartbreaking, and it also pretty much irritated me to the worst of my abilities. For the first time I watched it, and as I rewatched it a few more times before I did start to record this video. And I do wish they would have done alternative instead of killing him off the way they did. Because I get why they decided to kill him like that. And I like the way it plays out. But I didn't want to see Iron Man die. Because, like I said, I love that character. But that's how I personally felt. And now we're going to see Robert Downey Jr. in Sherlock Holmes sequel. That's too little too late if you ask me. I'm not so big on Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes films. I don't think they're terrible, but I think they're fine at best. Nothing amazing, but they're fine. The sequel, I do get some enjoyment out of, but A Game of Shadows, again, it becomes boring after the first 10-25 minutes. But it gets back into the coolness after a good hour. But that movie is somewhat of a time waster. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about. Last but not least is, while I think the screenplay is exceptionally well written in a lot of areas and throughout this entire film's length, I must admit sometimes some of this character development and some of the scenes of the characters just sitting and talking, like I said, while interesting, it can become a little bit too boring for me, and it can go on for too long, to the point where I literally wanted to say, let's get back to the action now. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind the grieving scenes, I don't mind the characterization, because the characterization does make this movie even more something than what it really is, and the conversation sequences are cool. But you could have easily trimmed some of the talking scenes down a little bit with the grieving scenes. But none of those affects my grade for this movie, or my enjoyment of the movie. First off, let's start off with the runtime and the pacing. As much as I felt like the first 30 to 40 something minutes was slow and a little too somber for its own good, the movie ran at a pretty good pace, and this is another example where I feel like the 3 hours actually served the purpose instead of being forced to 3 hours. Usually when you have a movie that's 3 hours, you can get pretty good results like Return of the King, Blade Runner 2049, even all the Hobbit extended cuts, and even Gone with the Wind if you want to bring in the classic. But sometimes 3 hours is not always the best option. And Transformers Age of Extinction, while I don't mind that movie, I still own the movie on DVD, I do admit that movie should have easily been trimmed to at least 2 hours and 12 minutes, at the very least. But the 3 hours actually serves a purpose instead of being forced to be 3 hours and bore me to death as I was expecting. But if this is the only MCU movie to do that, I'd be happy with it. And after those first couple minutes moved along, the movie became more interesting in the second and third halves, and mainly to getting the dead Avengers back and the quantum realm stuff. But the movie was well edited, well paced, and well tightened, and well thought out without feeling dull, even though I didn't care for the first 30 minutes or so. Second off is the acting. The acting is extremely strong in this movie. I'm going to start with our original 6 Avengers first. Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow, Chris Evans is Captain America, Mark Ruffalo is Hulk, Chris Hemsworth is Thor, and Jeremy Renner is Hawkeye. They are always great in every one of these MCU movies, and here is no exception. You see the vulnerability and struggle that each 6 of these main Avengers that we followed since 2012, and even before the first Avengers movie, you see the struggles that they've had over such one small defeat. But when it gets to them fighting back against evil and righting the wrongs, they're really great in the fight scenes and dialogue scenes. And this is easily the best performance of Robert Downey Jr. in his career besides the first Iron Man and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. This is an actor who has came a long way, since he's battled his demons in the past with drug addiction and alcohol and jail time, and he's made 2 of the best comeback films I've ever seen with Iron Man and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, and I've loved him ever since Gothica with Halle Berry. Yes, I like them in that movie. Now, I wanted to get into the Dead Avengers because I was so stressfully and extremely worried that they weren't going to come back, and let me say this. They get their time to shine in this final battle when they come back and fight off Thanos, in which Josh Brolin does a great job once again, and the visual effects and motion capture work is still top notch, and you can easily tell that he's won, but he still has to suffer the consequences when they end the surviving Avengers, along with the Captain Marvel and Valkyrie, come back and beat the crap out of him for one last attack. And now, thanks to this movie, the ending of Avengers Infinity War is no longer relevant because of the time travel. So I can basically watch this movie and just say to myself, the ending of Avengers 3, it never happened, even though it did. But anyways, Benedict Cumberbatch is Doctor Strange, Tom Holland is Spider-Man, Chadwick Boseman is Black Panther, Elizabeth Olsen, aka my wife, but not really, but I'm a guy who could dream, right, is my fan favorite, Scarlet Witch, Anthony Mackie as Falcon, Sebastian Stan as Winter Soldier, Zoe Saldana as Gamora, Vin Diesel as Groot, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord, Letitia Wright as Shuri, Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp are all great and amazing. They all get their time to shine when they show back up into the film, like I just said, and when they go back in time. Well, only when you have Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana win that part of the situation. Evangeline Lilly does a great job once again as the Wasp. Olsen never fails to impress me in anything she's in. This is no exception because she's still great as Wanda. So I so definitely can't wait to see her in the Scarlet Witch Vision TV show coming soon for Marvel Plus next year because it starts production. The other guys, Boseman, Holland, Cumberbatch, Mackie, Stan, Wright, Pratt, Saldana, Batista, and even Clem Latif. They are all great as in the screen time they have as well. Tom Hiddleston is great too as Loki, even though I wish they would just keep Loki dead permanently. But you know how Marvel likes to play. They're not gonna let Tom Hiddleston go that easily. Again, I have nothing more to say about Josh Brolin as Thanos without the shadow of a doubt. He was great. Tessa Thompson, for the little screen time she has as Valkyrie, as I said, she's great, she's badass, she's pretty, sexy, she still carries the accent for Valkyrie. I'm not going to take anything from Tessa Thompson, but you could have at least given her more to do, which is one of my issues, but it's Tessa Thompson, for goodness sake, she should do more, but what can you do? Paul Rudd returns as Ant-Man And Bradley Cooper returns as Rocket Racoon, and they also have some incredible humor and great scenes where they get to do stuff. And you could tell the Raccoon wanted to help get his friend Groot back, and they do succeed in doing that. Rudd always makes me laugh, and he's a great actor as always, so I got nothing more to say about him. Gwyneth Paltrow, for her last MCU appearance ever as Pepper Potts. She was great, and I was very happy that they gave her an Iron Man suit too, because they built that up in the last couple movies, Iron Man 3. Jon Favreau is Happy Hogan, who also executive produces this movie. It was fun to see again as Happy Hogan, because I love Happy Hogan, and Favreau is such a great director and actor. Frank Grillo, he was cool to see back across the bones. The rest of the other cast members were really good, too. Come on, guys. Do you really, guys really think I'm going to leave out Karen Gillan's Nebula? No, I'm not, because if I don't talk about Gillan or the next person, which I'm saving for last, it wouldn't be a full review. But Karen Gillan as Nebula, she was great as always, and Gillan has never failed to impress me as an actress, and coming off her directorial effort last year with the amazingly underrated and definitely one of my favorites of 2018, The Party's Just Beginning. She is amazing in this role, and you can tell that she is going through hell with Thanos, and you get a lot more development with her as you did with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I say to myself, I love this character, and I don't blame her for wanting to get her sister back and kill her own father, because of the stuff that Thanos has put her through. But I look forward to seeing Karen Gillan in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and the other movies as we go into the 2020s, because I support all actors that I like, and Gillan happens to be one of them. She's just a great talent, and Marvel knows great talents. And I need to make a confession right now. I've always had a thing for space alien girls like Gamora, Mantis, and Nebula, and there are some great examples. And James Gunn and the Russos look awesome as she already is, and she's already a great actress as it is. Now the elephant in the room. Miss Brie Larson, aka the sexy cosmic space girl Captain Marvel herself. She was great again, and she's once again does a great job, like she did in her solo film and her directorial debut Unicorn Star. I'm probably one of the few people as of right now to defend and to support Brie Larson as an actress, because everyone is still giving her crap. I know there were some rumors going around before the movie came out saying her and the cast not getting along and directors being unhappy with her due to the comments she said about white guys. And I'm going to say it. You people need to stop bashing her, because you don't like what she said, and you have to stop bashing her all because you don't like what she said, and deal with it more professionally and less viciously. She doesn't have as much screen time as the other Avengers, and as much as I thought she would, but she's well utilized for the scenes that she's in, and which is my biggest issue with Carol Captain Marvel. And I really do like the hairstyle she has in the third act, which when I first watched the movie I was confused about. And seriously, who still wants to follow in the footsteps of a website like CosmicBookNews.com? And seriously, who gives a shit about that website anyway? What they try to make you believe. And I love the fact that she does wear makeup. I like the explanation that she gives, that she had other planets that didn't involve them. That's why she couldn't get here in time in the first two Avengers movies. So shut up, maker haters. And she's not forcing herself to smile like me. I'm just tired of the controversy and hatred that Brie Larson gets. But it's okay, because at the end of the day, I don't care about what those people think. Because she is a great actress. She's been doing movies ever since she was a child. And so, yes, she did offend some people. But come on, guys. If it's not one thing you're offended by, it's another. And yes, she doesn't need to use her celebrity status to be political, but what most people fail to see is the good inside of Brie Larson as a person is because of something she says. But the MCU is not going to turn to a new Star Wars, so y'all people need to shut that up. And I'm also very happy that she wasn't oversaturized because she's only had one movie until the planned sequels come along. And she gets to fight in the final battle, and even though she's not in the film that much, I can understand because she was filming her solo movie, so I can forgive it. And I am aware of her solo movie does have some MCU retconning, but that's not a problem with me, as I can can deal with things as much as with my good YouTube friend, if controversial, Sean, aka Very 2591. So sorry, Mr. Cobb, but I can't agree with you, but I do respect your opinion on why you didn't enjoy Captain Marvel as much as the next guy. But the cast was all great, especially our MCU girls in one scene during the final battle of this movie. Which, when I saw that, well, I'll talk about it in the spoiler section. But cue the montage, guys. The direction by the Russo brothers, ever since The Winter Soldier, these guys have knocked it out of the park, and this is probably the third favorite MCU movie of their MCU directorial career for me. And they once again directed a darn great MCU film. You can easily tell, just like the previous Avengers films, there is a balance of darkness and light, which I appreciate, because if this was completely devoid of action, I don't know how I would have gotten through this movie. Because for a movie that's this dark, this somber, and this intense, you are going to need some comedy and jokes spread throughout to keep it from being overly somber. Otherwise, you'll end up with a lot of people hating your film. And I know it's called variety, but that's why I felt like the first few DC Cinematic Universe films were. As much as I liked those movies, I felt like at times with Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman, they were extremely too dark and could have used some more humor. There's a lot of humor and darkness and emotional weight and a lot of intensity thrown at you in the directing, and I couldn't be more pleased. So give yourself some credit, Anthony and Joe Russo. The screenplay is amazingly well written. Christopher Marcus and Stephen McFeely, they write the hell out of this movie. This script does a great enough job giving you the emotional scenes, the comedy, the atmosphere, as well as giving this film a good enough way of breathing itself in and out action sequences and scenes out of character deaths and character sacrifices along the way. And it really shows you what these characters are willing to do to take down our big bad. Because face it, we're not going to be seeing Thanos around the MCU forever. So eventually he has to be taken down. And sometimes in order to see the light, you must face the darkness, which is the strongest aspect of this film's script and story. And that's basically what I got out of this movie, was in order to see the light, you must face the darkness. Or in other ways, in order to win, you must lose at least once. Therefore, it helps me appreciate the ending of Avengers 3 a lot more, even if I still have problems with it. And I do admit that this movie actually helped me understand the ending of Avengers 3, even though I'm not a big fan of that ending. From a technical aspect, I can say the effects are well done. You have multiple visual effects companies like Industrial Light and Magic, Weta Digital, DNNG, Framestore, Synsight, Digital Domain, Rise, Lola VFX, Katina Creative, Capital T, Technicolor VFX, and Territory Studios doing these effects. And this has a $356 million budget, and the effects look great. The sound design effects are always great, and the sound designers do a great job. The cinematography is really well done. I love the color palettes, they're well handled. As far as editing goes, like I said, the first 30-40 minutes could have been fixed up or a bit trimmed. Most of the talking scenes could down a notch, because like I said, while I do like the characterization, while I do like the conversations, I felt like that they eat up too much of the actual purpose of this movie. But I will say the editing is still well done, and the costumes and makeup and production design are all great, and they all do a really great job. The musical score by Alan Silvestri is really well done. It has the Avengers theme while also giving us a lot of emotional depth and sense of action and what is going forward to Silvestri. And for going deep into the music design is really great. Yes, it does reuse the music from Infinity War. That's only because this is tying in with Infinity War. And it does have moments of being intensely violent and dark in some of the film's most darkest moments. It was great hearing the original Avengers theme, the Captain Marvel theme. Like I said, it reminds me of Wonder Woman and Supergirl's theme, Doctor Strange theme by Michael Giacchino, and the awesome Ant-Man theme. And the last thing I can say is that the action sequences are well done. You get plenty of action for our main characters and for our dead Avengers in that final battle as well. When stuff goes down, this movie is going down. There is a lot of character deaths and sacrifices. It's not as much as you were expecting, as well as some great humor sprinkled throughout. But my favorite action scene is at the end of the movie, when all of the Avengers, both living and dead, come together for one last fight with Thanos. See, I'm not just talking about those. I'm talking about the whole MCU. Anybody that has played some part into the MCU, except for Lady Sif, which disappoints me. They show up and beat up Thanos for one last time with the help of Captain Marvel. And this is probably the best final battle in a superhero movie since the first Avengers. I do like the final battles in BVS and JL, but JL's final battle, Justice League's final battle, could have been done a little bit better. And I will say who gets the killing blow in this movie, but all I can say is that when the person gets the chance to get rid of Thanos once and for all, they don't mess it up, because I'm not ruining anything in this half of the review. And no, it's not 11 years of planning and setup gone, so hang that up right now. Captain Marvel actually helps throughout this movie, even if she ain't in it that much. The 11 years of planning and setup was worth seeing. Captain Marvel helped all of our original Avengers from all previous 21 movies, with the Guardians, Black Panther, Spidey, Doctor Strange, team up with them again, Thanos, and it doesn't destroy the MCU, and it doesn't insult the MCU. So there's a lot of things I love in this movie. For any nitpick that I have is completely outweighed by the many great things this movie had to offer. It was a great way to have some great fan service in this movie, especially when they go back to the ending of the first movie. I love that. So overall, while I do have my few little problems with the first couple minutes being a little too somber and drawn out for its own good, Hawkeye's new look, a few scenes of dialogue being a little too drawn out, and the way they choose to kill Iron Man in the last few minutes, I can simply say that none of those issues affect how much I loved Avengers Endgame or Infinity War Part 2. This is how you conclude an 11-year-long mission with all the MCU coming together for one last fight, taking down Thanos once and for all. I'm looking forward to seeing what the MCU has planned next going forward. So what if they want to do more, have more female characters brought into the MCU? As long as it's equality, it's fine with me. It's not SJW pandering, it's not man bashing. So anybody who thinks that you can hang that up right now, if anybody who thinks that, you can hang that up right now. Avengers Endgame is another great MCU film and a great MCU masterpiece, and a fantastic conclusion to the Avengers trilogy. Yes, I know it's 4 movies, but when you really take Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame and put them together and really think of it, I see this as one big 5 to 6.5 hour long conclusion to what the MCU has planned. The same way I see the last 2 Harry Potter movies as being one long giant epic finale to that franchise, with great acting from the returning players, both living and resurrected, as well as newcomers. From Robert Downey Jr. to Gillen, Olsen, Hemsworth, Larson, Johansson, Evans, Ruffalo, Renner, Brolin, Cooper, Pratt, Zaldana, Diesel, Guerrero, and everyone else. A great score. Great balance between darkness and light, a great direction, amazing writing, awesome visual effects, awesome cinematography, badass action sequences, and a final showdown with the Avengers, Captain Marvel, the whole MCU, and Thanos. Woo, that was awesome. This movie didn't hold back. So in that respect, I say thank you to Joss Whedon and the Russo brothers for creating another one of my favorite movie trilogies of all time, and I definitely, strongly recommend seeing this in the best way you can. Go see it right now. The movie is made $2 billion as I'm recording this. Without a doubt, it needs to be seen. As far as I rank these Avengers movies, my least favorite will be Avengers 3, Infinity War Part 1, then Avengers Endgame, then number 2 is the first Avengers, and then number 1 still is Age of Ultron. And as far as my MCU ranking with this one, I had it at number 18, but I'm moving it up a little bit more higher. And this is easily going to be on my favorite movies of 2019. I know I'm a little stunned to say that because I fully expected to hate this movie because of the runtime and what this movie was doing, and because I wasn't going to get my questions answered. But you're safe for now, Marvel. It may not be my favorite movie of the year. That still goes to A Vigilante with Olivia Wilde because how much I love that movie as well. And originally it was Glass, but A Vigilante beat it. But it is definitely one of my favorites, and I definitely will add this to my planned MCU collection, whether it's DVD, Blu-ray, or digital, even if it has a lot of special features. Hopefully a commentary with the entire MCU cast from this film and the last film together, as well as the director, screenwriter, and the filmmakers. Even if it has a bunch of special features, I definitely take that for Blu-ray and digital or DVD. And without a doubt, this movie most definitely, absolutely, without a doubt, gets my Spider-Verse Rainbow Seal of Approval.
If you're an MCU fan, this movie is going to give you everything you wanted and everything that you never knew that you wanted.
Thanos did exactly what he said he was going to do.
It was emotional, action-packed, the theater was cheering.
If you've been invested in it like I have since 2008, you're going to love this film.
It's a love letter to the fans, a lot of callbacks, a lot of moments for us to remember.
My brain cannot process what just happened. You guys are not ready. I'm just gonna tell you that you're gonna love it.
It's super gripping, it's a heap ton of fun, it hits you in the feels, it's got everything you want, plus surprises.
Oh my gosh, what an experience. God bless you, Kevin Feige. This is awesome.
Whew. That's all I have to say in the spoiler-free section. So now I'm going to pass it over to the spoiler section, which isn't completely in voiceover, where I go over things I personally want to talk about that I can't talk about here. So if you ain't seen this movie, what are you doing? Go see it. Or you just want to hear me talk about spoilers, be my guest. So here's the spoiler section. There was a spoiler warning at the beginning of the video. You have been warned. Now, here's the part of the Avengers Endgame review where I go into spoilers. So if you've yet to see this movie, go see it while it's out. I'm pretty sure it's gonna make $3 billion before it ends its theatrical run. So I guess the first thing I should talk about here, and I'm gonna go completely out of order here, is Captain Marvel herself, played by Brie Larson. like I said in the spoiler-free section, there were rumors going around that she didn't get along with none of the cast gets along with Brie Larson, and also, I guess another thing that a lot of people complained about was the fact that that Brie Larson's comments were very negative about which, as I said in my Captain Marvel review, the controversy has just gotten way out of hand, and people just need to learn to take it. And some people can't afford to take something that someone says. I've learned to take things that people said and just deal with it from a guy perspective. But how does she fit into the film? I thought she fit pretty well. I thought she fit very well into the film. I thought that she really brought her A game. Brie Larson, she's an amazing actress. She's one of my celebrity crushes, and right now, she's probably my new fourth or third favorite MCU actress. And yeah, I am honest when I'm saying that. Granted, she's not in the movie as much as I wanted to, but we just had her solo movie not too long ago, back in March. And there is an explanation for why she wasn't there with the Avengers in the first two movies, and why she's just showing up now. And the reason that's given is, in her words, is that she wasn't able to be there for a part of it. It's a part of the final battles of Avengers 1 and 2 was because she had other planets that she was going to, and she couldn't get to Earth when Loki and Ultron was causing all that destruction. But so, for anyone who says that's not enough explanation, I think it's just enough explanation to tell you about that. Granted, and she does help Tony and Nebula get out of space, which that was very cool to see. But like I said, as much as I do wish she was in the movie more, I must say that she brought it. She brought her A game. And I was confused when I first watched it on when she came back into the film, why she has this weird looking haircut. Like I said, this weird looking haircut it kind of looks like a guy. But looking at the character from the comics, that's how it was in the comics. So I've grown more appreciative for that. I guess the second thing I want to talk about is, as much as I say, I guess, why was the first couple minutes slow and a little boring for me? Like I said, it was a good character explanatory. It gives us a chance to breathe. It gives us a chance to deal with what happened in Infinity War Part 1 or Avengers 3, if you want to choose to call it, whichever one. As much as I do love those first couple minutes, I just feel like the talking is good conversation. It's good dialogue. I can't really say the dialogue was bad. It's just that I felt like it was taking a little too long to get to the point of the movie. But I will say it gave me a chance to get more development out of these characters. So I can forgive that. Even if on rewatch it still bothers me very much. Now, the reaction to everyone dealing with the aftermath of Infinity War, like Chris Evans said in the featurette for the film, when they were talking about this one, that the Avengers they're not used to losing, and when I saw that, when you see that these heroes for the first time they've lost, it was very hard to watch, because you're watching these characters that you've grown and grew up and seen over the course of 22 movies having to go through a small defeat like that. But as I said in the spoiler free section, in order to see the light, you must face the dark. And like I said, that is the biggest message that I could take away from this amazing film. I could take that easily away from the film. So I was very happy seeing that, and it was very awesome. But it was really amazing to see. Now, the quantum realm, I really love this idea of the quantum realm. At first, Tony, he doesn't want to do it because it'll affect the whole thing with his daughter. And the time jump for 5 years later, I think is very worthy. I thought it was very amazing. But in that, I hear people complain about the way Thor was handled. I don't mind the way Thor was handled. He's more drunken, he's more fatter. I really don't mind that. I thought that was very great. He's became overweight, drunken of Asgard's refuges, and Chris Hemsworth, the reason why he said that was they made the change was because Chris Hemsworth, he said he wanted to do something different this time around, because each film he's wanted to do something different, and the last couple movies they were on board, and I love how they pushed Thor in that direction. And Bruce Banner's Hulk, he gets to become Professor Hulk. I thought that was very awesome. He has managed to balance the two sides with gamma experimentation to balance his intelligence with the Hulk. And Professor Hulk was just really funny. I thought that was really amazing to see that. I thought that was very fantastic to see. And getting back to Carol for a minute, like I said, Brie Larson, she filmed her scenes for this movie before working on her solo film. And the directors of Captain Marvel, Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, which I don't understand how so many people can complain about two directors directing Captain Marvel. But yeah, you people can sit up here and deal with the Russos directing. And they were present for filming her scenes in Endgame, and they gave the characterization in Endgame their blessing, and I'm very happy with that. And I just gotta say, it was really awesome to see each character go through a little something throughout this movie. But getting back to the quantum realm, which I'll get to the negative in a minute. I thought the quantum realm worked very well in the film, and it was very purposefully. Like I said, Tony, he doesn't want to do the quantum realm at first because it will only make things worse, because messing up the timeline might hurt something. but then Stark eventually decides to do it and helps Bruce Banner to do that. And I thought that was very handled very, very well. It was really cool. Now, next, and it was really great seeing Ant-Man in the quantum realm as a young kid, and then as a baby, and then at the age of 93. I thought that was very cool, and it was great that he went to the quantum world, allowed him to see an older version of his daughter. I thought that was very well, who I thought Catherine Langford was going to be playing. But Emma Furman plays the older version of Cassie Lane, and that I thought was very well done. Now, here's where I get into the missed opportunity aspect. Catherine Langford was supposed to be in this movie, like I said, I love Catherine Langford. I think she's a great actress. I think she is a rising star. I think she is very beautiful. I think she's very gorgeous. I know she's from the lands out under, but she is great. She's a really great actress. If you ain't seen 13 Reasons Why, then you should, because that was a really great film. Because it was disappointing that she was cut out, because she is one of the next talked about actresses besides Brie Larson after Captain Marvel, for better or worse. But she was going to play the older version of Robert Downey Jr.'s daughter in this movie, Morgan Stark, but they cut it out because test screens said it was too confusing. Even if it was confusing, it would have still been a great thing to see, because I really thought that, I get why you cut her out, but at the same time you should have just left it in. But people say the movie's already too long anyway. Guess what? I could have went for another hour and a half, because I was enjoying the movie that much, even though I did not like the first half of this movie. But I can't let that mess with me or my enjoyment of the movie. Now, the moments when they're going back in time, all the great fan service, I have nothing more to say about the MCU fan base. It's really great. I thought it was really awesome, and I thought it was very cool, and I thought it was just like, okay, this is very interesting. And it's just very cool and very awesome to just go in that direction that they went. And then going back to the Avengers and the Winter Soldier, all those different times, I thought it was really amazing to do. And I thought it was just very cool, very interesting to see that. And that was, I thought them going back into the timeline was pretty cool, and you get to see a 2012 version of Loki, and from the end of Avengers 1, then you find about it. So I think the time travel stuff, that was well executed. I guess the next thing to talk about is this is the final cameo for the late Stan Lee, because Far From Home, he didn't get a chance to film his cameo. which is very heartbreaking. Watching this movie and watching Spider-Verse, watching any of the other MCU movies, it is heartbreaking because seeing this last cameo, it put a smile on my face, but I said to myself, this is the last time we're gonna see that. And I was just it was heartbreaking seeing that. And it was just very cool. And it was very emotionally well done to see that. So it was heartbreaking at best to see the character, to see Stan Lee's final cameo, but I will say it was really awesome. So, honestly, I got nothing more to say. Now, this, before the movie came out, they said only 2 people were going to survive, but it was the other way around. Some of the original Avengers survived, but 2 of them died. Let's get into Black Widow's death. Whew, the way they did Black Widow's death is basically the same as last time with Gamora, where in order to get the Soul Stone, you have to sacrifice somebody you love. And at first, Hawkeye and Black Widow, they're fighting around. You see them fighting around to see who's going to sacrifice their life. But Natasha decides to sacrifice herself. And you get the Red Skull again. And they travel to Vormir in 2014. And like I said, it can only be acquired by sacrificing someone they love. So, seeing that was very heartbroken. And it was just very, very emotional to see Scarlett Johansson go. But part of me wishes it was Hawkeye sacrificing himself, because Hawkeye, I think he is the most underrated character, and I thought if they would did the other way around, it could show that he is actually worth giving a care about in this whole MCU. But you know what? What can you do? I can't really complain too much about it, because it was still a very heartbreaking scene, and the reaction that all the other guys have. Wow. That was just emotional. And when they get all the Infinity Stones, it's really awesome. And Thanos accesses future Nebula's memories and learns of the plans of the Avengers, and he sends 2014 Nebula to the present, disguised as future Nebula. And so what happens? You have 2 Nebulas. And how can I not talk about the fight between the 2 Captain Americas? That was really something there. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that shit. That was really awesome to see that. But the reactions from the rest of the Avengers, including Steve, I'm like, she did. I was there with them. But that's also when they are able to get back the Infinity Stones and bring everyone back. And I thought that was awesome. But that was pretty awesome. And now I guess I should talk about the final battle. The final battle with the Avengers Thanos. This is the This final battle is a mixture of the final battle in Deathly Hallows Part 2, which is the last Harry Potter movie before Fantastic Beasts, and the final battle in The Return of the King. So that, whoo! When you see this final battle, you gotta see it to believe it, because it is awesome. Thanos, he wants to use the Infinity Stones again to destroy the universe and create a better one, and nobody will remember the old one. So everyone gets a shot out Thanos, while Hawkeye and Ant-Man are just taken out for the forces. And so Thanos overpowers the Avengers and summons the army to lay siege on Earth until Doctor Strange, Spider-Man, Scarlet Witch, everyone shows up. The Wakanda team, Black Panther, the Ravagers, the armies of Asgard, Nebula, the Guardians of the Galaxy, Doctor Strange and Sorcerers. Everyone gets to go up at Thanos. Now, I did watch my Neuropack friends, John, Matthew, Sean, Veritas 591. I did hear Matthew talk about it when Scarlet Witch went up against Thanos. I love her line of dialogue when she says, "You took everything from me." And then Thanos says, "I don't even know who you are." And then she says, "You will." But seeing Scarlet Witch go head to head and basically seeing Scarlet Witch go up against Thanos, she uses, this is the movie where you see Scarlet Witch go. Yeah, seeing Scarlet Witch just completely use her full power to her potential, I thought it was very well handled. And when she uses her full power, I'm sitting there geeking out like a fan that I am, and it was just awesome seeing that. I really loved that. It was very amazing. But into all of that, the team is fighting like hell against Thanos' crew until a little somebody shows up to destroy Thanos' ship. And there goes Brie Larson come back into the movie. And the best part of fan service when you play Captain Marvel's theme, Doctor Strange's theme, all hearing themes from the previous MCU movies, that's very awesome. And like I said in my Captain Marvel review, her theme reminds me of a mix of Wonder Woman and Supergirl. So that was very cool seeing that, and I really thought it was very amazing. So I thought that was very well executed and very well done. And then Spider-Man, they're all taking turns trying to keep the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos with all the Infinity Stones. And then Spider-Man, he deserved his homecoming. He definitely earned his homecoming after 2012 and 2014. So thank you, Marvel, for giving Spider-Man the redemption he deserves. I can't wait for Far From Home in a few months from now. Next up, let's get into the final battle is just all kinds of awesome. And then Brie Larson shows up right in front of him saying, "Hey Peter Parker, you got something for me?" And then he gives her the Infinity Stone. I thought that line of dialogue, call me crazy, but it's awesome, but it was also pretty hot. So I definitely agree with Jacques on that. But the best moment of fan service is when all the female characters, Valkyrie, Gamora, Nebula, Okoye, Shuri, Scarlet Witch, Captain Marvel, all the MCU female girls they come together and they just go in on Thanos. And the first time I saw this, I screamed out loud, "Bring on the zone!" It's just a little catchphrase I've come up with. And then the more I watched that scene again, I said, "Bring on the zone!" And then seeing these ladies get to do all of this awesomeness, I thought that was really amazing to see. It's very cool to see that, and I thought it was just well done. And it's very awesome seeing Carol get to take part in the final battle. Now, when Doctor Strange and Iron Man had a little conversation, Tony says, "Out of the 14 million possibilities where we win. Can you tell me if this is the right one?" And then Doctor Strange tells him, "If I tell you, it won't happen." And when he said that line, Doctor Strange did, I said to myself, I knew what was gonna happen, because I've been dreading it all year. I've been dreading it since this was announced. I've been dreading it from the very beginning, which we'll get into, because this is basically the main negative I have with the film, and why it's not higher in my Avengers ranking, and why it's a little bit more higher, because it was number 18, but the more I think about it, this may end up being either number 15 or number 16. But honestly, the death of Tony, everyone has done all they can to keep Thanos from trying to wipe out the world, and I thought it was gonna be Carol to take out Thanos, but if they went that route, I could hear everyone saying 11 years of build-up and planning is gone. And part of me is pretty happy that they decided not to go that route, because Carol, she's just had one movie so far, and you don't need to oversaturize her like that just yet, because we need a little more development on her. And in future Captain Marvel movies and future MCU movies with her, we are going to get that. But everyone has tried all they could to stop Thanos from wiping out the world again. And so, in this case, there goes Tony. And he and Tony have a little throwdown. And then Tony's able to rip off the Infinity Stones off his Infinity Gauntlets. Then Thanos tries to wipe the world out, and this is when he says, "I am inevitable." I laughed at that part, and then with his badass line, the Robert Downey Jr. has, he says, "I am Iron Man." In one little snap, boom, everything is finished. Thanos is gone. He's wiped out of existence. It reminded me when Harry gained the upper hand at the end of Deathly Hallows Part 2, and Voldemort and Thanos got disintegrated. It's basically the same way, but also the energy from the Infinity Stones, he uses that energy with the Infinity Stones, with his Iron Man armor, but it also kills Tony. Now, as much as I don't like the sequence, as much as I don't like Tony's death, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some negative feedback for saying that by the end of this video, but seeing that, it was really, really hard for me to take it in on the first watch. And the more times I watch this movie, I'm just I'm still not very happy with seeing him die. But seeing that I said to myself, you're ending it where it begun. And plus, like I said, I didn't want it to happen, but they had to go this route at some point. This is the 22nd movie, and Iron Man has been with us since 2008. And Robert Downey Jr. has came a long way since his drug addiction, since his alcoholism. He's came a long way into being from great movie comebacks like Gothica and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which is an awesome underrated movie. If you have not seen Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, I strongly recommend it. It's really funny and it's really awesome. And then with Iron Man, Iron Man, those movies are some of the best comeback movies for an actor after they've had up and down career. Whew, man. But the way Tony's death plays out, I love the way it's shot. I like the cinematography in it. I like the music that plays in it, and I like the way it's written. With Spider-Man going over to his dying mentor, saying, "We won, Mr. Stark. We won." And then Peter starts crying, and War Machine goes over to him, see if he's okay, and then he can't even look Peter in the eye. And then but also going back to that little moment with the MCU girls, I could see them doing a MCU film. I'll have to listen to SJW's complain, but I'll always be there to defend. And then Scarlet Witch, she, like I said, she damn near killed Thanos, and it shows you how strong she is. So if I was to rank the strongest Avengers, I would go with Valkyrie, Thor, Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and Scarlet Witch. But I give it the Tony's death credibility because I did get emotional. But no, I didn't cry. I didn't cry when Superman died in Batman vs Superman, and I didn't cry now because I wanted to handle it like a man. There's a lot of greatness, like I just mentioned, but the main thing I really hate about it is that Tony is not being able to say his last words to Peter and Pepper, and the fact that it was predictable that he was going to die. I wasn't very shocked at all. But as of now, the deaths in this movie are permanent. Tony's death is permanent. Natasha's death is permanent. Even though she's getting a solo movie next year. Loki's death should have been permanent, but no. Marvel just wants to keep Loki alive. Heimdall is still permanent. And unfortunately, Betty Ross and Lady Sif is permanent. Which, that also pissed me off. Because you have a character like Lady Sif. Yeah, I know she got hurt, but still. You could have done more with that character here. I still wish it was someone else to kill Thanos. In a way, I wouldn't be upset. It's pissed watching that, but I can't deny that it got me heartbroken. But still, see, Tony not being able to say his last words, or the fact that it was predictable, it still pisses me off. However, the way it's done, I'll give it the benefit of the doubt because you ended it where it began. But at the same time, as a fan of Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, I didn't want to see him die because I've grown way too attached to him. And yes, I found it impactful but I didn't find it shocking because, like I said, I could see Iron Man's death coming from a mile away before this movie, and I was dreading it. I dreaded it. And Captain Marvel fit into the final battle very well. She may have came when everyone else came, but she did a great job. Now, his funeral, I thought was really emotional. I love the funeral scene for him. Everyone shows up. Maria Hill, Nick Fury, Carol, the Guardians, T'Challa and his friends, Bucky, Captain America, Falcon. Everyone just showed up. Even the little boy who from Iron Man 3, Ty Simpkins, who's an adult now. They all showed up, and it was just amazing to see that part of to see a character get a great send off, and he did really have a heart. So that was nice. And he recorded a little message for his daughter and Happy Hogan in case he didn't make it. So I must admit, this movie has a lot of emotional weight. And as I'm recording this, it is 37 minutes now. So this is going to tie in pretty well with the spoiler-free section. Because I'm sorry if this review of Avengers Endgame is going to be a little long, but I had to do it. Because this is the last Avengers movie for a while. The next Avengers movie, it'll be the new Avengers. And I'll be alright with it. I'll be cool. So, following that funeral, Thor appoints Valkyrie to replace him as the Queen of Asgard. He joins the Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm very happy Chris Hemsworth renewed his contract. So I can't wait to see more from him as Thor, because we're all going to get a 4th Thor movie, and we are going to get him in Guardians 3. I'm hoping Zoe Saldana they found a way to bring back Zoe Saldana from the aftermath of Avengers 3. But honestly, I think it would be great for them to show Peter going through the loss of Gamora that he knows, because the Gamora that he loves is gone. You have 2014 Gamora as of now, and Vision is dead as of now until the WandaVision series, which I can't wait for. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany, whew, that's gonna be awesome too. And with Elizabeth Olsen as my fan favorite character in the MCU, for as far as female characters go, any day of the week I'll watch that. Even though it's gonna be on a streaming service, I'll still watch it. After that, Steve Rogers returns the Infinity Stones and Thor's hammer to their original places of time, and then he decides not to go and stay in the present, but he decides to go back in the past with Peggy Carter and dance, which that was emotional. But before he does that, an older version of himself, he passes on the shield to Sam Wilson, which I really like that. I like that. You give Falcon the shield. It could have been Bucky, but they went the complete 180 and gave it to the black superhero, which made me very happy, because Marvel and DC, they have some really great black superheroes, and I feel like we should be getting more black superheroes in the MCU and in DC's movies. Now, I am pulling for DC for hopefully a better Justice League movie, but for right now, I think DC should just take the time with their solo films. And as far as the whole thing with Robert Pattinson, that's not even confirmed yet, so I'm not even gonna try and give my thoughts on it. But so much spoilers to talk about, and I'm finna be 41 minutes into the spoiler section. So yeah. And all I ask for people who don't like the MCU or this movie is to respect each other's opinions, because while we may not all agree, we still have the right to appreciate a satisfying end to the Infinity Saga and look forward to what's next the MCU does, for better or worse. I'm looking forward to seeing what's next. All I ask for you, Marvel and Kevin Feige, do not put too much comedy in the MCU interpretation of X-Men. Because if I'm gonna watch the X-Men in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have to at least do something different. Do not be like Guardians of the Galaxy and put too much freaking comedy in there, because then I'm really gonna be upset. You can put some comedy in the MCU, just don't make it into another Guardians of the Galaxy. And with Fantastic Four, for the love of Mother Mary, do Galactus the way he should be done. Even if you have to use motion capture work, do him justice. Galactus truly deserves it, and the Fantastic Four deserves another good movie again. So yeah, honestly, that's all I got for Avengers Endgame spoilers. And that's pretty much it for this intensely long review of Avengers Endgame, but it is worth it. Again, like I said, to all the directors, all the people behind this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, thank you. Now, DC Cinematic Universe, I am pulling through for you. I'm still going to support you, but you need to get your crap together and tell Warner Brothers to stop interfering in your mess. Because I do think you have to have what it takes to give us a good Justice League movie, and as good of a final battle as is presented here. It's just with Warner Brothers, they just messing with you. So, yeah. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about Avengers Infinity War Part 2 or Avengers Endgame down below. Do you like it? Did you hate it? If you hate this movie, I don't know what you're saying. If you're mixed about this movie, do you think it's underrated? Do you think it's overpraised? Where does this rank for you in the Avengers quadrilogy? Where does this rank for you in the MCU movies? Where does this rank for you in the Marvel movies in general? Because it felt good getting to talk about this, and I am glad that we got this. Because if Iron Man didn't work, if the Incredible Hulk didn't work, if Captain America and Thor didn't work, if Guardians of the Galaxy didn't work, we wouldn't have made it this far. And thank you. So to everyone at Marvel Studios, including Kevin Feige, and to all of the cast and crew who has worked on all 22 MCU movies, thank you for this achievement. Thank you. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. You will be missed. I wish you were still here with us. That way you could do a Spider-Man Far From Home cameo, but you lived a full life. Be sure to follow my social media links down below. To Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Stardust, Letterboxd, and I will see you guys in the next video. You guys keep it cool as always and join the epitasticness. Thank you, Kevin Feige, everyone in Marvel. Rest in peace, Stan Lee. And rest in peace to my friend, Lindsay Cronkite. Bye.